A version of this story first appeared in CNN Business before the Bell newsletter. Not a subscriber? You can sign up right here. You can listen to an audio version of the newsletter by clicking the same link. London, CNN Business. The latest data on consumer prices in the United States showed that annual inflation unexpectedly rose to a 40-year high in May, underscoring concerns about household finances and piling pressure on political leaders who say they're doing everything they can to address the problem. What's happening? The Consumer Price Index rose by 8.6% in the 12 months to May. It had fallen slightly to 8.3% in April. That signals to investors that the Federal Reserve could continue to aggressively hike interest rates through the end of the year as it tries to get inflation under control. Upcoming inflation data will be most important for determining the pace of hikes beyond July, city economists said in a note. The big question for policymakers in Wall Street is whether inflation has peaked. When stripping out volatile food and fuel costs, annual inflation in May rose 6%, slightly lower than in April. I'm confident that inflation will be meaningfully lower by this time next year and back to something we will feel comfortable with not too long thereafter, Mark Zandi, chief economist of. He pointed to the fading impact of the pandemic, and said that after the European Union's announcement of its oil embargo on Russia, the worst of the economic fallout from Russia's aggression also appears at hand. But what happens in the interim remains murky. High fuel and food prices feed through to inflation in other parts of the economy. U.S. gas prices are hovering just a cent below $5 a gallon, and oil prices could go even higher this summer, Goldman Sachs said this week. One factor I've been watching closely is the cost of housing, also known as shelter inflation. Housing represents about a third of the value of the basket of goods and services that the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics uses to track consumer prices, which gives it significant weight in the overall inflation picture. In early 2022, it was a contributor to rising inflation alongside food and energy. The shelter index climbed 5% over the last year, according to data for May. That was the biggest increase since February 1991. That's already notable. But Citus economists warn that the data can be slow to reflect the environment for renters, which means there is a chance housing costs jump by even more than expected in the coming months. Check this out. Rents in Manhattan hit a record high in May for the fourth consecutive month. Median rent for an apartment climbed to $4,000 a month, surging 25% from a year ago, and that's before the peak summer season for lease signings.